Well, a very good morning. You're watching the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha television with me, Frank Pereira. Here are the latest headlines this morning. All eyes on Bihar Assembly for the crucial floor test today. Chief Minister Manji and his predecessor Nitish Kumar locked in a battle of supremacy. BJP to side with Manji today. 5 people held for suspected corporate espionage. Delhi police continues raid after reports of policy papers being smuggled out of oil ministry. Centre assures strict action. Death toll to swine flu virus crosses 700 across India. Number of positive cases also soared past 11,000. And Greece's bid to seek bailout extension receives a blow. Germany rejects Greece's loan request efforts to break the deadlock. Well, all eyes will be on Bihar today as Chief Minister Jitan Ram Manji and his predecessor Nitish Kumar will try to prove a majority in a crucial floor test. Yesterday, in a setback for Manji, the Patna High Court barred 4 JDU MLAs from voting in the assembly today. However, Manji will have the backing from 87 BJP MLAs who have been issued the whip for the floor test.
The battle lines are becoming sharper in Bihar. All indications suggest that the BJP will support Chief Minister Jitan Ram Manji in the floor test on Friday.
नीतीश कुमार जी तो केवल सत्ता के स्वार्थ में एक महादलित को अपमानित करने का काम किया है। कल हम लोगों ने विधायक दल की बैठक की थी। हम लोगों ने विधायकों से जमीनी फीडबैक लिया है और भारतीय जनता पार्टी के आम विधायकों की राय थी जितना राम मांझी जी को समर्थन करना चाहिए।
The BJP also questioned the Speaker's decision to grant Leader of Opposition status to the JDU.
तो भारतीय जनता पार्टी चाहेगी कल सदन के अंदर गुप्त मतदान के द्वारा और बहुमत ये विश्वास मत के प्रस्ताव का फैसला होना चाहिए। हम एक महादलित के पक्ष में खड़े हैं, समाज के सबसे कमजोर तबके के व्यक्ति के हम पक्ष में खड़े हैं और कल सदन के अंदर जब मतदान होगा, अगर मतदान की आवश्यकता पड़ेगी तो हम विश्वास मत के पक्ष में और भारतीय जनता पार्टी के सभी विधायक जो हैं और मतदान करेंगे।
The BJP strategy seems to be decided. It is not keen to see Manji to win the trust vote in any case, given that faces accusations of poor governance and routinely makes controversial statements. But by backing him in an election year, the BJP could get itself political mileage by being seen to back a Mahadalit who belongs to one of the most underprivileged caste in Bihar.
अपने विधायकों को जरूर आप समझाने का प्रयास कीजिए कि जब गरीबों की बात हो रही है और गरीबों की संख्या 80% है, तो आप मंत्री बनने के लिए अगर जाना चाहते हैं तो जीतन मांझी के पास भी मंत्री का बहुत सा पद है, आइए हम मंत्री बना देंगे।
The JDU is of course blaming BJP for engineering the political crisis in the state.
दिल्ली की लिखी हुई स्क्रिप्ट को ही बिहार भाजपा इंप्लीमेंट कर रही है। सब श्री अमित शाह के इशारे पर हो रहा है।
In the 243-member Bihar Assembly with an effective strength of 233, JDU has 110 MLAs including the Speaker. One attached member is Chief Minister Jitan Ram Manji. BJP has 87, RJD has 24, Congress 5, CPI 1, Independent 5, while 10 seats are vacant. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Let's go across to my correspondent Shyam Sundar, who's standing by on the phone line to tell us more about what's likely to happen in Bihar today. Shyam, we spoke about it yesterday and we said, you know, the BJP, we had all clear indications stating that the BJP would indeed go ahead and support Manji. A whip has been issued by the BJP as far as the floor test in the House is concerned today. Both sides, the Manji faction as well as the Nitish Kumar faction, seem to be confident that their respective faction will win the floor test in Bihar Assembly.
Definitely, and as of now, it looks like that Nitish camp has the upper hand because they have paraded 130 MLAs, including JDU, RJD, Congress, and CPI, and that's why yesterday when Sushil Modi addressed the press conference, he demanded that there should be a secret ballot, and his logic was that because there are 2 factions of JDU, so there are concerns of pressurizing each other groups, so there should be a a secret ballot. But I don't think that Speaker will go for a secret ballot. Speaker will definitely ask for division, and as of now, it looks like that Nitish Kumar faction, with the support of RJD, Congress, and CPI, they have the numbers, and the parties have already issued the whip. So there are little chances that more MLAs will cross over to the Manji faction of JDU. So as of now, it looks like that Nitish Kumar has an upper hand in the whole crisis.
All right, Shamsundar, thank you so much for joining us there with all those details and bringing us up to date with the latest as far as what's going to develop in Bihar. Moving on now, the first rumblings are being heard in the Indian industry against the government on its not doing enough on the ground to implement its high-pitched economic reforms agenda. HDFC chairman Deepak Parekh said there's little happening to ease procedures for doing business in India, which could affect the government's ambitious Make in India program. Here's more.
It's the first real jibe at Prime Minister Modi's ambitious Make in India program, and the fact that it comes from leading industrialist Deepak Parekh makes it vitriolic enough. In the latest interview to PTI, Parekh said, and I quote, "After 9 months, there is impatience creeping in as to why no changes are happening and why this is taking so long having effect on the ground. The optimism is there but is not translating into revenues." The criticism comes as much-needed ammunition for the opposition, an added weapon after the BJP's drubbing in the Delhi elections.
It's ironical that the corporate cheerleaders of this government have already started groaning and moaning and carping about the policy paralysis in the government.
बयान बहादुर नेता हैं, बयान बहादुर प्रधानमंत्री हैं। अगर इनका बस चले तो ये देश में आंकड़ों में खेती करके दिखा दे। इनकी सरकार बनने के 9 महीने बाद उद्योग के अंदर भी बड़ी सुस्ती आई है, विदेशी निवेश घटा है, रोजगार के अवसर घटे हैं।
The BJP rejects the idea, saying the Prime Minister has enough to show in terms of real achievements.
With all due respect to Mr. Deepak Parekh, I would state that during this short period of Mr. Modi's regime, the central government that we have seen a change in the growth rate of India. Growth has improved. We have seen that the inflation, which was in double digits previously, has come down, has been contained.
HDFC chairman Deepak Parekh has a reputation for being vocal with his views on reforms and policy measures undertaken by various governments. He was among the first to attack the UPA for alleged policy paralysis after a spate of corruption scandals. Parekh cites low global commodity prices and other factors that have aided the present government and stresses the need for much more if policy initiatives are to have the desired impact. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
Well, moving on to another big story now. 2 officials of the Petroleum Ministry are among 5 people arrested for allegedly leaking confidential government documents to energy consultants and corporates. The crime branch of the Delhi police continued raids overnight to find others involved in what is being termed as corporate espionage. More arrests in connection with the leaks are likely today. Here's a report.
The crime branch of Delhi police arrested 5 people on the charge of stealing classified documents of the Petroleum Ministry. Apart from 2 Reliance Industries and SR executives, the crime branch also questioned a journalist who runs energy portals and the head of Australian energy firm Medit. The confidential information was allegedly shared with corporate houses and had details of policies used for oil exploration, pricing as well as imports.
This is a preliminary investigation. We can say that these documents had been obtained by certain independent energy consultants who were operating in the field of energy, and similarly certain companies which have been operating in the field of energy.
The police action followed complaints by the Oil Ministry and is said to have come after the Intelligence Bureau had tailed these persons and tipped off the police. The Petroleum Ministry said strong action would be taken against the employees who allegedly leaked the documents.
ये एक बड़ा गंभीर मामला है और इसमें सख्त से सख्त कार्रवाई की जाएगी। अभी विवेचना प्रारंभ हुई है। जैसे ही हमें दिल्ली पुलिस से पहली रिपोर्ट प्राप्त होगी, उसके आधार पे जो भी कार्रवाई आवश्यक होगी वो करेंगे।
The revelation has sparked off a political blame game too. The centre has blamed the UPA regime for allowing the leaks. Opposition has demanded a thorough probe in the case.
He should either put whatever facts he has out in the public domain, or he should immediately apologize and take his statement back.
I do not think it is an isolated incident. This practice must have been going on for a long time. In the past also, particular incident shows that there is a nexus between bureaucrats and corporate houses.
The raids continued overnight in some of the areas in Delhi, including Connaught Place. Sources say that more arrests are likely in this case in the next couple of days. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, the swine flu death toll has crossed 700 across the country in the last 24 hours. 10 more casualties were reported from Gujarat and Himachal Pradesh, taking the overall toll to 713. Gujarat, one of the worst affected states, saw 9 more die yesterday, taking the state's toll to 176. The number of positive swine flu cases in the country also crossed 11,000. The spread of swine flu prompted Cabinet Secretary Ajit Seth to chair a high-level meeting during which he asked the states to ensure setting up of necessary helplines and round-the-clock functioning of outbreak monitoring cells.
The medicine is available in adequate quantities, not just in Delhi, but also in all the states which have shown incidence of this disease. The Prime Minister has, expressed all medicines are available and all steps are taken to ensure that the patients get the necessary attention.
26 hospitals हमने दिल्ली में डेजिग्नेट किए हैं स्वाइन फ्लू ट्रीटमेंट के लिए, जिसमें 13 हॉस्पिटल दिल्ली गवर्नमेंट के हैं. दिल्ली गवर्नमेंट के सभी हॉस्पिटल्स में सभी तरह की फैसिलिटीज अवेलेबल हैं.
Well, with the union budget around the corner, experts in the health field have expressed that the government will not pay mere lip service to the goal of health for all. They want the upcoming budget to focus on bringing in tax reduction on health insurance and free services to the poor. Here's more.
To move towards health for all, two key initiatives, that is the free drug service and free diagnostic service, would be taken up on a priority.
With an annual spending of just 1.4% of GDP on healthcare, the World Health Organization ranks India's healthcare system at a lowly 112 among 190 countries. Nowhere near the lofty goal of health for all that the Finance Minister announced in Union Budget 2014-15.
When we say health for all, it would also emphasize on reliable delivery mechanisms of healthcare services, the infrastructure behind it, the resources, the manpower beneath all this. So it's a huge complex program then. It's very, in one single line we would conclude that health for all, but how do we achieve it? Where are the pharmacists? Where are the lab technicians? Where are the X-ray technicians? Where are the nurses? Where are the doctors?
At 35,163 crore rupees, allocation for the health and family welfare sector in the 2014-15 budget marked a hike of 27%, but towards late December, media reports said fiscal strains were forcing the government to cut nearly 20% in its 2014-15 healthcare budget.
All the different insurance schemes like the CGHS, the Employed State Insurance Scheme, the Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana, all of them should be integrated into one scheme so that every citizen gets the same kind of service.
Health professionals feel the government can't afford a shrinking health budget, not only when it puts at risk key disease control initiatives, but also when the country needs a good insurance scheme to make services affordable and accessible.
Government is planning to transfer more money to these states. That is, Finance Commission's share of taxes will increase from 32% to 42%. It will mean that the centrally sponsored programs that are being run, they would be short by 1 lakh crores. At the same time, states will get untied grant of additional 1 lakh crores.
In order to be in line with other developing economies, experts feel healthcare allocation should go up to at least 5% of the GDP. The government wants to launch an ambitious universal healthcare program this year.
Given that China spends 3% GDP and the United States 8.3% on health, experts hope that the government will do better than previous years in setting aside higher allocation for the sector. With camera person Sudipta Das, this is Anshu Jay Singh for Rajya Sabha TV.
It's time for a short break now, but coming up on the other side, West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee begins a 3-day Bangladesh visit. Teesta Water Treaty among key agendas for her. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
More autonomy to the Indian Institutes of Information Technology. Bihar to get another central university, and the schools of planning and architecture, now at par with the likes of IIMs and IITs.
How do you see the things improving from here on?
I think one of the best provisions of the bill is enhanced autonomy.
Watch Law of the Land, 3 bills on higher education this Saturday at 6:30 p.m. only on Rajya Sabha TV.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha Television. Well, West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee is in Bangladesh for a 3-day visit to strengthen relations between Bangladesh and her state. The visit is expected to result in a breakthrough in settling Teesta Water Sharing Pact and approval of the land boundary agreement. Mamata is slated to meet Bangladesh President Abdul Hamid and Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, besides holding talks with the Foreign Minister. Significantly, this will be her first visit to Bangladesh after taking charge as Chief Minister in May 2011. During her visit, Mamata will also attend the Bhasha Divas to celebrate the International Mother Language Day.
বাংলাদেশকে আমরা খুব ভালোবাসি, মনে হচ্ছে আমাদের নিজেদের ঘরে এসেছি এবং এটার সাথে আমাদের ইমোশনাল রিলেশন, আমাদের হৃদয়ের আন্তরিকতা দিয়ে আমরা একটা এসেছি। এমনিতে সময় পাই না, অনেক জায়গায় যাইও না, কিন্তু বাংলাদেশে আসাটা আমাদের আন্তরিকতায় পরিচয়। এবং আমরা তো সবাই জানি, আমরা বলি বিশ্বকবি সোনার বাংলা, নজরুলের বাংলাদেশ, জীবনানন্দের বাংলার যেটা নেই।
Well, joining me for a chat on this very subject is the Associate Editor of the Sangbad Pratidin, Gautam Lahiri. Good morning, Gautam. Thank you for joining me on the program. You know, there are quite a few issues as far as West Bengal and Bangladesh are concerned. Now, some of these issues will be addressed, of course. One of them is the Teesta Water Sharing Pact. Do you see any kind of a closure as far as this particular issue is concerned?
Well, first of all, that is the first time Mamata Banerjee is visiting Bangladesh at the invitation of Bangladesh government. And acceptance of this visit itself is a very important so far the bilateral relationship between India and Bangladesh. Because you know, in 2011, when Prime Minister Manmohan Singh wanted to sign a deal with Bangladesh on Teesta river water sharing, that time West Bengal government, Mamata Banerjee, opposed that agreement, and in the last moment he cancelled that visit. So there is a growing perception in Bangladesh among the people particularly that whatever India is promising, they are not fulfilling.
Yes.
And West Bengal is an important part of India because of Teesta river is coming down through from Sikkim, then going through West Bengal, then it is reaching up to Lalmanirhat in Bangladesh. But point is, so water is a state subject. So the approval or endorsement from the state is very important. So for any international agreement on the river water sharing, that is our stated policy. So no government at the center can ignore a state government. So I think this is a very good move from the both Bangladesh government side as well as from the acceptance from the Mamata side that she is trying to now reaching out to Bangladesh. That she perhaps now thinks and she wants that this relationship should go forward. That is a good for Bengal also, because West Bengal is a gateway of Northeast, as well as if India's earlier look-east policy, what is now termed as an Act-East policy. So West Bengal is a geostrategic position, is very important for so far the connectivity is concerned. So Mamata Banerjee perhaps realized that she cannot ignore permanently the relationship with Bangladesh.
Indeed.
So that's, and
particularly because she cannot be seen as an creating an obstacle for taking the relationship forward.
Indeed. And we saw some kind of forward movement a few weeks ago when, the issue of the land border was being sorted out. But we saw a lot of protests being carried out in West Bengal because West Bengal was not really happy with the kind of deal that was being reached. So do we see anything happening on the land border issue?
Well, I think land border issue is not settled now because the standing committee has gone into it. They have given an unanimous report where Trinamool Congress is also a part of that committee. And they have said only they have some minor problem about the settlement, resettlement of people. Those, if anybody wants to come and settle in Bengal, that center should take the financial responsibility. Other than as far as the bill is concerned, Mamata Banerjee is not now supporting that bill. So it is whenever the government of India will find time to pass it after the budget session or during the budget session, I think there is not a very major problem so far the land boundary is concerned. Only the problem is about the Tista river water sharing, because Mamata earlier the Chief Minister felt that perhaps West Bengal would be a loser. The vast area of North Bengal is dependent on Tista river. So if there is any during the lean period, if government agrees to a formula that they will have to give a larger share of water to Bangladesh, then perhaps there will be some problem in the North Bengal. But this is totally a perception and it is a wrong perception. Mamata Banerjee herself has initiated a committee headed by one river specialist, Dr. Kollan Rudra. I think
before I let you go, a quick reaction on the terrorism issue. Of course, we know the Burdwan blast took place as well. Do we see this issue, the terrorism issue, being discussed between the two countries?
Yeah, recently what happened in West Bengal, that everybody knows that there was a bomb blast in Burdwan, and ultimately NIA has taken up this investigation. They found very serious kind of involvement of some of the terrorist groups, those who are sheltered in Bangladesh and had a link with a counterpart in West Bengal. Perhaps some of the political elements are also supporting this group. So there is also a perception in Bangladesh that Mamata Banerjee perhaps is not taking a proper action against all those groups. But Mamata Banerjee feels this is totally wrong. She also wanted to give an impression or give a message to Bangladesh. Look, for Bangladesh, West Bengal will be a friend forever. So whatever on this issue, they are ready to cooperate.
Indeed. All right. All right, we'll have to leave to that. Thank you so much, Gautam Lahiri, for joining us on the program this morning and sharing your expert views on that particular subject. Moving on now, of course, Prime Minister, let's take a look now at what's likely to happen in the day today in our segment, The Day Ahead. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be visiting Arunachal Pradesh today. He will be in the capital Itanagar to attend the 29th Statehood Day at Indira Gandhi Park. He is also expected to flag off trains and inaugurate the 3-day festival of Arunachal. The visit could invoke sharp response from China, which claims Arunachal Pradesh to be its own territory. In an attempt to reach out to the people, Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal will meet the public today. The meeting will take place at his Kaushambi office every week. The interactions are a move to connect with the public and deliver on their promise of better and swifter governance. A Delhi court today will hear the case of the 2 Italian Marines accused of killing Indian fishermen. One of the accused has been allowed by the Supreme Court to travel to his country for medical treatment for 4 months, after the centre said it had no objection in principle. However, the order will only be operational after the unambiguous undertaking of dates of departure and arrival are provided. Moving on to some international news now. Germany has dismissed Greece's latest efforts to resolve the impasse in debt negotiations between Athens and its creditors. The 6-month extension sought by Greece has been termed as an unsubstantial proposal. A Eurozone meeting will take place today to break the deadlock in debt talks amid fears of Greek insolvency. Here's more.
Rather than a renewal of the existing deal, Greece formally requested a 6-month extension to its Eurozone loan agreement yesterday. But the proposal faced stiff opposition from Germany. Germany refused to acknowledge the Greek request as a substantial solution saying it does not meet the criteria agreed upon in the Eurogroup.
Πιστεύω ότι υπάρχουν όλες τις προϋποθέσεις για να υπάρξει αύριο μια αμοιβαία επωφελής και λειτουργική μεταβατική συμφωνία και πιστεύω ότι αυτό θα είναι το αποτέλεσμα του αυριανού Eurogroup. Σε κάθε περίπτωση, εάν υπάρξει άρνηση αυτής της τεράστιες προεργασίες που έχει γίνει, ο καθένας θα αναλάβει την ευθύνη.
Herr Schäuble hat zu Recht gesagt, dass das, was im Brief drinsteht, noch nicht ausreicht, um zu einer Vereinbarung zu kommen. Aber auch Herr Schäuble und das BMF verhandeln ja in der Eurogruppe weiter. Und das ist auch genau richtig. Wir müssen diesen Brief jetzt nutzen, um zu klären, stimmen am Ende die Bedingungen.
However, Greece did find support in some leaders. France, along with European Commission, called the request an encouraging sign that a solution could be reached.
President Juncker, who was in intense talks with President Dijsselbloem and Prime Minister Tsipras yesterday through the night and also this morning, sees in this letter a positive sign which, in his assessment, could pave the way for a reasonable compromise in the interest of the financial stability in the euro area as a whole.
The Greek request letter includes a pledge to maintain fiscal balance for a 6-month period, while it negotiates with Eurozone partners over long-term growth and debt reduction. European finance ministers are due to vote on the proposal in Brussels on Friday. It is not clear which side will prevail as Greece races against time to avoid running out of cash. Bureau Report, Rajya TV.
Some more international news now. Fighting in Ukraine refuses to die down despite repeated calls to honor the ceasefire. A day after pro-Russian rebels rebuffed the truce by forcing Ukrainian troops out of Debaltsev, Ukraine has warned of plans of a new assault by the rebels near Mariupol. But the Western nations are refusing to give up on the peace deal just yet. The US called on all sides to abide by the commitments of the deal. There were sanctions warnings too that Russia would have to pay certain costs if violations persist. NATO's top commander raised concerns that the ceasefire existed only in name and has not been adhered to on the ground. UK too condemned the aggressive behavior by Russia, saying NATO members will remain resolute and united in the face of any challenges posed by Russia. Well, let's bring you up to date with the other international news in our segment World Wrap. US Secretary of State John Kerry said that Pakistan is committed to going after terrorists. Kerry made his remarks in a meeting that took place on the sidelines of a 3-day conference convened by the White House on countering violent extremism. Kerry's reaction comes barely a month after he pulled up Islamabad for not acting enough to curb terrorism on its soil. Airstrikes against Islamic State bases in Iraq have been stepped up. The US-led coalition staged 15 airstrikes on Islamic State forces in Iraq and Syria. British Royal Air Force aircraft blew up a mobile rocket launcher that had fired on Kurdish troops north of Mosul. 8 airstrikes near 6 Iraqi towns hit fighting positions, tactical units and a weapons storage facility. The French government survived a no-confidence vote called by opposition conservatives. The voting was held after the government resorted to a decree to bypass opposition to a flagship economic reform bill this week. 234 lawmakers voted in favor of the notion, according to the official vote tally, well short of the 289 votes needed to secure an absolute majority in the lower house of parliament. Well, let's now bring you up to date with all the significant sports events around the world in our latest sports beat. Hammered by host Australia in their World Cup opener, England face another stern test today as they take on host New Zealand at Melbourne. New Zealand has fielded the same team that won their first match. England has won the toss and decided to bat first and are struggling at the moment. Former Portugal captain Luis Figo entered the race for the top job in the FIFA yesterday. He came up with several proposals as part of his manifesto in a bid to become president of FIFA. Figo said that a greater percentage of FIFA's income should be spent on grassroots development. He also called for debate on a possible increase in the number of World Cup teams to as many as 48. Formula One world champion Lewis Hamilton had to withdraw from testing, having completed just 11 laps after being taken ill. Hamilton began the session yesterday in Barcelona and was fifth fastest in his Mercedes during the short stint. But after returning to the pits, the Briton had a fever and was unable to continue. Well, that's it on this edition of the Breakfast News. Have a nice day.